Hey, beautiful seekers, welcome back to the Existential Shift. If you're new, my name is Morgainne, and I want to talk a little bit about Mercury. Just moved retrograde in Capricorn. It will ingress into Sagittarius, continue its retrograde on the 22nd on December all the way to January 1st, when it will station direct, and then on January 2nd, 2024, it will move direct. This Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is Sagittarius. So let's break it down. Mercury is sign of communication, thought, knowledge, amongst other things. So is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is higher learning, belief systems, ideas, seeking truth, justice, values, universities, colleges, schools, religious establishments, medical establishments, pretty much organizations, big organizations that have to do with knowledge or higher learning, including but not limited to spirituality. Okay. Capricorn is the structure, often structure of society, structure of companies, structure of organizations. Mercury retrograding in Capricorn, then moving into Sagittarius, and moving direct in Sagittarius, and going again into Capricorn and moving forward. So this will be digging deep into the structure of these establishments, be it higher learnings, religious, and so on. When it comes to their teachers, their leaders, their structure, it's going to be a pretty intense breakdown that will expose falsities, corruption, misuse of knowledge, distortion of knowledge, misinformation, etc. Leaders of these institutions that have been corrupt, that have been abusing their power, that have been misleading the public and their followings or their students. This could apply to spiritual teachers, spiritual leaders, not just religion, right? Could be even New Age oriented. There is going to be this has already started. I mean, I see it based on what already is and how it also simply aligns with the astrology and the meaning of this. It's already happening in poison Ivy Leagues across the US. I think it will also extend to medical institutions. And I think a lot of you know what I mean by that. But to speak on to what we can already see unfolding and happening, institutions and colleges and universities have now been exposed for having, in the past 2 decades, being funded by radical Middle Eastern countries. On a personal note, when I came to America about a decade ago, I found it really odd. I couldn't understand why young people, student age, um, sometimes sound like, for lack of a better example, sometimes sound like the leader of Iran, like all kinds of Zionist entity, for example. I was like, why are you talking like radicals that are on the other side of the earth who wants to get rid of you and get rid of the Western world? I thought, okay, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's fashionable, maybe it will go away, but it only became stronger, and now everything is coming to terms. Um, they have been accepting billions of dollars worth of funds, and that never goes, without any strings, that amount of money. And what you see on college universities and institutions, higher learning institutions, is very tragically and sadly, it showcases that. So there has been a rot, a real a real corruption, a real descent of the education system, of not just regular institutions, but higher learning, the most expensive ones, the ones that um, leave Americans with the highest level of debt, for example. I think this Mercury retrograde, the next 2 weeks, we're going to see a lot of those really, really collapse. And again, I don't think it's limited to that. Um, it, we will see it in medical institutions as well. And I'm talking on a global scale. I gave examples from America, but global scales. Um, I mean, think what a Sagittarius and Capricorn together is. It's the structure of truth, right? The structure of enlightenment, the structure of study, the structure of spirituality. It fits very much. It's gonna get ugly, but it's very necessary. And you know, our younger generations deserve proper education. They deserve to not be indoctrinated to into ideologies that are the opposite of that represent the opposite of freedom. It's not just, the countries that um, are a big example to that is this will play out in social media, TikTok, for example. Okay, several young generations now are indoctrinated by Qatari ideology, Iranian ideology, Chinese ideology, and Russian ideology. If you know anything, if your head is not in the sand, if you know anything that is going on in the world and geopolitics, just really basic stuff, you know that that's dangerous. That's communism. That's jihadism. That's it's just all the bad isms that a lot of people in the West presume to believe the opposite of, right? So I think and how it's going to affect people on a personal level is going to break down belief systems. Like if you are part of a generation or part of people or someone who has been indoctrinated to any of these, unknowingly, of course, it's not like you woke up in the morning, I'm going to go and get indoctrinated. Right? Of course, it's not purposeful, but expect a meltdown of your belief structure and you know what you thought was good is bad, what you thought was bad is good, things like that. It's going to be a really intense Mercury retrograde on a global scale. And to anyone who has been affected by these global movements, it will affect them also on a personal level. Okay. So stay awake, you know, um, put your ego aside, otherwise it's going to hurt more. And follow the money. Honestly, just follow the money. Okay. If you want to understand who moves what, right? Who controls what? Okay, who's funding these universities by the billions? Okay, that's the main ideology that is being presented there. Who is funding TikTok? Okay, that's the main ideology that is presented there, and so on and so forth. Um, I'm sorry to many of you who love TikTok. I know, but you gotta know. You gotta know that it's teaching you things purposefully. Um, I just made a short on my channel on something else. One of the things I said was that, I grew up learning in school how to read what is written, but also, and most importantly, how to read what is not written. So don't always look at what exists and what is taught. Look at what doesn't exist and what isn't taught, right? What is kind of conveniently isn't mentioned. So, yeah. Uh, People refer to this, I hear astrologers refer to this retrograde as nice and fluffy. Not everyone, of course, but some, and I'm like, oh, it's it's not nice and fluffy. It's not nice and fluffy. Um, yeah, Saturn and Neptune both squaring Sagittarius when Mercury will move retrograde in Sag in the last week of December. So Saturn, karma, strict consequences. You're free to say you're free to say what you want to say, but you're not free of the consequences, right? Consequences. Neptune squaring this, it's going to I think it's not going to confuse, as it is going to expose the confusion. And then people who have been affected by this confusion are going to be confused by now the truth that they thought they had the truth, and now truth is coming and it shakes up themselves. And so it's going to be a doozy. I don't see it as knowledge coming in that is confusing as it is the realizations that can be confusing on a personal level as to like, people are going to ask themselves the hard questions, and that's harsh. That's hard. It's a difficult experience. So, yeah. Okay, seekers, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you later.